A very warm welcome to each and everyone. I'm Preetham Bhadra. I'm a motivational speaker and a corporate trainer. I'm the founder of Vision X Training Systems. And today with ourselves, we have Mr. Tausif Hassan. To give a brief introduction about Mr. Tausif Hassan, so he's working as a project manager with British Telecom. So he's having more than 12 years of experience in management. So he's a leader who have trained and managed more than 1,000 people in the corporate, and he's specifically known for training people achieve high in their performance. So thank you so much for joining in, Mr. Tausif Hassan.
Thank you so much, Firtham. First of all, thanks a lot for having me here, and it's great feeling, and it's beautiful to see that we were connected through LinkedIn, and then we came to WhatsApp. It became more personal, and then now we are talking to each other. So it's a fantastic feeling, and thanks
Great.
again for having me here.
You're most welcome. The pleasure is all mine. So yeah, so let's get started about discussing about, the reason why I thought to discuss about this particular topic is because the rich experience that you have training people and mostly the youngsters which are in the initial in their career stages and joining under you. So as a leader, handling those people sometimes get tricky for many of the managers who have just joined in as a manager, just promoted. So I want to discuss about that. So the topic for this conversation is leading millennials. So what are the steps that an effective managers can follow so that they can have effective leadership abilities in the organization?
So I think if I better understand your question, you're asking, how to effectively handle people, and I think it can be a variety of people, maybe a young age people, or maybe people who is in the middle of his career, or probably people who are more experienced in their subject. So it doesn't really matter who you're handling. If you are very much clear on the principles, on the fundamental things of leading people, you are not going to face any problem. And at times you don't learn things overnight. You learn things by spending time with them, staying with people, handling difficult situations, and and learning with them. At times you also become a victim. At times you also become on a receiving
True.
end. But that's how you learn. That's how you evolve. And I have over the course of these 12 years, what I really learned, there are four kind of people in corporate that you basically handle as a leader, and it's basically a four quadrant. So the number one quadrant is like a set of people who are unconsciously incompetent. Now,
Okay.
when I talk about these kind of people, they are the very beginner, like raw fruit. I mean, they are eager to learn. They are new people, or we may call them as a fresher in corporate. So, I remember when I was in my previous organization, I used to be kind of training people, because it is very important to train people, give them product training, and make them understand how are they going to go about on the job,
True.
and then you know they become prepared to handle. I used to train them, so they used to be college pass out. So
Mhm.
the very first thing that we used to teach them is all those behaviors that they have to exhibit. It's not important that how much you know about the subject, but it is very important to know how to handle people, how to communicate effectively, how to handle difficult situations, especially because they were the one who were going to handle customers. And if you know how
True.
to talk to people, our customers are the people, they are not the objects. So
Correct.
this
Yeah.
category of the people need utmost attention, because the way you modulate them, the way you train them, they will become that similar product. Now, you can't predict how are they going to go about, because you can't really go into deep into them. They may have will issues, they may have skill issues. Over the course of time, they will learn. But
True.
I think we need to heavily invest, as a leader, we need to heavily invest our time on them, because that's the time they learn most. That's the time they have the most energy in them. Now, the second category which I'm going to talk about is basically unconsciously competent. Now,
Okay.
this is a very dangerous category, to be honest. If you talk about these kind of people, they basically, I wouldn't say very much dangerous, but they're like little bit trained. They don't have skills. So at this time they are little bit aware about things. They know how to speak to people, how to handle customer, but they lack skill sets. So the reason why they are unconsciously incompetent, because you know uh, competent is because they don't have the subject, they don't have the skills that they need to deliver when doing their job. For example, I have been into technical support and customer service and sales for a longer period of time. So sales is one fundamental skill that is very vital in the market these days, and you might also, we use sales skills in day to day life as well. So if
True.
people who are unconsciously competent, if they are not aware about that fundamental skill, they will not be able to perform, no matter what kind of will level they have, no matter how much eagerness they have to learn, but they need to have a skill. So these are the people who doesn't have the skill, they have a skill issue. The third quadrant basically is consciously incompetent. Now this one is dangerous, because these guys are the one who have the will issues. They are consciously incompetent. They know that this is a problem and they know how to fix it, but they would not do it. You got to push them. So these kind of people, as a leader, you have to analyze the behavior of these kind of people. I would, as a leader, suggest that if the number of these kind of people are very less, then do not invest too much. Do not actually, involve too much in them, because you would leave attention to the majority of 90% of the people. But yeah, obviously, because we'll talk about deep in how to handle these kind of people. Let's quickly move on to the fourth quadrant. So we talk about the people who are raw, who doesn't have any experience, who doesn't have any skill, who doesn't have any behavioral aspect how to handle people. We talked about the people who have skill issues, which are unconsciously competent. Now we are talking about people who are consciously incompetent, who have the will issue, who know how to solve a problem, but they don't want to. They don't tend to do that. And the last quadrant is, which is basically a group of people who are like autopilot.
Okay.
As a leader whom you have modeled, whom you have replicated yourself into them, so that they can handle most of your work, and they are the people who are responsible to free up your time, and you can do some other things as well. So they are consciously competent. Now, in order to take people from the first quadrant, which is unconsciously incompetent to consciously competent, it takes time. And only few of the people who have will, who are eager to learn, they reach to that potential. But they are the people who will help you, who will serve you, so that, as I said, that they will free you up from all the other things. They can handle your team. For example, I've been a strong believer that whenever you handle a team of, no matter the size or the complexity, you need to model yourself. You need to replicate yourself. You need to replicate your behavior into at least few people who would be able to go ahead and lead the way you lead your team. So these are the four quadrants of people. If you really understand these four quadrants, if you really work on them according to their skill set, their behaviors, according to their potential, as a leader, you will be able to lead people effectively. But this was more of a people and a surface level. But absolutely. But when you go into deep, as you probably may think about that, they are difficult people. They are people who are very obstinate, and they don't tend to understand what you say. And then the plan, you have to have a different plan. I remember, I'll give you an example. There was a guy, I don't want to name that guy, but I remember it was a sales team, and and that team was given purposefully to me, because that team was not resulting into a lot of efficiency, and my manager was like expecting a lot from me, and he said, Tausif, you need to get this team drive, and you need to have some good results, because also he also had to prove somewhere else. So I thought, okay, I was able to work on almost all the people and drive the result, but there was one guy who was not listening to me, and whatever initiatives that I would take, he would simply go ahead and negate that. He would simply go ahead and try to pull other people into he was in complete kind of doing anything and everything which would go ahead and oppose what I will suggest. At that time, I was also new as a leader. That was also a learning curve for me. That was like 2013 and all. So then I spoke to my manager, what should I do with this guy? And he also was aware that this guy is not listening to Tausif, and this guy is actually created a lot of problem to other leaders who were handling him in the past. Then I don't know it. I followed my intuition. I followed my gut. Actually that guy used to smoke a lot. And contradicting, in contrast, I have never been a smoker.
Okay.
I went up, I said that, why don't you go ahead and come on a break with me? Then I went and, I accompanied him to a dhaba and had some chat with him. Then I try to understand his context, because at times in life, no matter in your relationship, no matter in corporate, at times you misunderstand people and you
Hmm.
try to drive the results in your own way without even understanding what other people want. I went up to, on a break with him, and I had a heart to heart conversation. I placed aside my
Nice.
ego. I placed aside my ego, to be honest. And I said, what is it something that is bothering you? Am I the problem? Shall I change your, team? Shall I give you a different leader? And he said, Tausif, I'll be honest with you. And he was a very straightforward guy. He says, Tausif, you stop me from going on extra breaks. You
Okay.
give me
Okay.
extra breaks. I'll smoke. I'll have some kind of energy. I'll be high and I'll do sales. Try with me, and you don't give me break. People you
Okay.
earlier who used to give me break, but you are the one who are a very strict leader and who are very disciplined. I respect that, but you gotta give me extra break. Probably the number of hours that you're expecting from me, you can get some extra hours from someone else, but I can give you extra sales. I said, okay. I mean, that is
Mm-hmm.
something that I was not aware of. And I had several meetings with you in the office and in the room, but you never displayed this, disclosed this thing. I said, okay, let's
Uh-huh.
try this. Lesser extra hour. I really don't care. Go smoke as much as you want, but take care of your health. And then next day he came, he didn't talk to anyone. And I can tell you, I'm not lying to you. He came regular 90 days to work and he became the top seller in my team. And he earned me a lot of
Amazing.
respect. He earned a lot of respect for himself. I can tell you the name of that guy now. His name is Shobit Biljwan. He is having his own sales company as of now.
Oh,
And he still
great.
respects me a lot. And thereon, we had a lot of conversation. And now we are like a family. And he talks to me like a family. He said, Tausif, the conversation that you had with me offline, that was more effective, and you were the one who was able to understand me, and that was the reason I could actually work onto my potential. So at time, as a leader, it is very important that you have offline communication. It is very important to have spend some offline time, come out of your ego, come out of your office, talk something personal, because there might be some secret that your people may reveal that you may never know at having a professional
The
meeting.
professional
So
setup. Yeah.
yeah.
So I think, Stossiv, this is also the key, to handle difficult people. So when you are at the management level, when you are managing people, you can't just ignore people. You have to, you have to take everyone and then go ahead. And because
Absolutely.
if I'm not a manager, if I'm just an individual contributor in a team and there's a difficult person, I can directly ignore him and start focusing on my work. But when you are a leader, when you have so many people who are good performing or not that performing, who are discussing everything with you, who are a bit shy, who are not able to express what they have in them, the problem they are going, because it's not about the professional setup, but it's also about their personal life that impacts their professional work, and that's something
Absolutely.
very important. And hardly very few managers understand that, but those who understand, like you, I feel they can deal with difficult people very easily. So what's your take on this?
That absolutely. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, there is a thin line between being a leader and between being a manager. I mean, uh,
True.
I firmly believe that if you are a leader, you have to inspire people for the action. I mean, if you don't understand why you're working, what for whatever you're achieving, then you can't drive people. Because if you got the people to believe in you, you got to believe in yourself first.
True.
I'll again give you an example in my recent organization. Before I move on to, before I basically left being a people manager, that was my last team. So uh, again, that was, I would say, that was like modest performing team, and again people were like newly onboarded in the organization. And then I said that they came to me, and there was an annual function which was organized, and one odd team was awarded as a best team in the entire organization, and at least in my area, my domain.
Amazing.
So though they came to me, this is Tausif, you were there in the annual function, we were there in the annual function, but to be honest, we felt little kind of why we can't become a number one team? And there was only a couple of people, and rest of them, like, they only went there to enjoy and eat, and have drinks. Then I said, you are fantastic. Even I had this vision in my mind. Then I started nurturing them. And 1.5 years ago, I set a target. I had a meeting with them. I was very clear and authentic. And I said that no matter what targets you have, you may have your individual target. I have my own individual target. Organization has given you a specific incentive and a scorecard. But we all are going to work for this piece. And this piece is, we are going to be the number one team in the next annual function. I mean, there were few people who like, Tausif, it is not possible. You can't compete that leader. You can't compete that manager. They're 3-year tenured and it is practically not possible. I said, don't worry. Just keep this thought in your mind that you have to become a number one team in the next annual function. And let's go ahead and close this discussion at the moment. We will slowly and gradually work on that. And we will prepare a plan, a robust plan on which we will work, and we will be the number one team. And they said, okay, fine. Tausif, as you're saying, so it's very, very difficult to believe in what you're saying, but let's go ahead and give it a try. Okay, the time passed, and that was a new team. So, Preetham, I mean, as a personal, personally, I have been working very closely with the people. As you rightly said, that it's not only about the professional aspect, but it is about the personal aspect as well. True. I started getting into people's personal life, and I used to ask them, "How are you? How's your kid? And how are they feeling today?" And one thing that my one of my basically role model taught me is that you have to understand the objective of the people. Why people are there. See, everybody has different objectives. Everybody has different level of motivation and different kind of motivation. So, I spoke to everyone. I had a sheet which I named it as a job objective sheet, their personal details and certain set of questions to understand what they want basically. And I filled that sheet. I worked on that. I was surprised to note that there were people who said that money is my biggest motivation. There were people who said that I have a lot of money. I have my family business. I don't need money. All I'm here is to learn sale. All I'm here is to learn. And there were people who said that I'm here only to basically improve my communication skill. So different people with different motivations. So and you would not believe, organizational strategy and goal were not tagged with those individuals' objectives, but I personally started working with them. Over a period of time, they started feeling that Tausif is someone who is not only driving the organizational result, but looking at the personal development aspect as well. And the moment they started realizing that, they started taking interest. Because if you have to be interesting to others, you have to be interested in others first. So I did that. I followed that formula. So they started loving me. They said, Tausif, you are working. And obviously there was one lady who is still very difficult to handle, who is still very arrogant, who is still very not very receptive to what I say. But 90% of the people were set. They started believing in what I used to tell them. And there was a time after 6-7 months, there was a time they came in 1 month where they topped the entire floor. And the moment they topped the entire floor, senior leader came in, they arranged the rewards and recognition, and majority of my team members won that contest. And that was the time we had a party outside and they celebrated. And when they were having drinks, they said, Tausif, you are the best manager. Because when you drink, you speak truth. And they said, Tausif, we are going to win that contest. It's okay. But in between, during that journey, I had multiple sessions where I had to motivate them. I had to remind them what is your purpose, because it is only your purpose which actually drives your spirit. If you're not clear what you're doing, probably you may get demotivated and you may get deviate from whatever you want to achieve in your life. So finally, I am glad to tell you that my team won the best team award. In fact, I can show you the trophy which is there in my Almira. This was a trophy which I won.
Oh, lovely.
Best
Amazing.
Manager.
Congratulations.
So, thank you so much. So, what I really learned from that team that was one of my best team that I handled in my life. And what I really learned from them is that if you really care for people, people will care for you. And in an attempt, in an aim to achieve that vision, all the targets, all the incentives we won, all the targets were automatically met. I had never drive them towards achieving their scorecard. They did on their own. They felt responsible, because I was the one who actually used to make them feel responsible. It is your responsibility, because they own that responsibility. They own that purpose that we have to become the number one team. So that's how you basically manage things.
Amazing journey and amazing learning as well. Because even I have worked with almost 2 companies now. So I've been a global learning consultant. I've discussed, and I've been a mentor to more than 3,000 students. I've been into sales process. I've been to consulting as well. So seeing so many people and the iteration rate, people coming in, going, I have been under almost 10 to 12 managers now.
Wow.
So I have a diverse experience. So I know the way people behave, the way people react, the way people take responsibility. A call at 12 a.m. comes. Is it coming for the target, or is coming to know that how is my health? I think
perspective, absolutely.
Yeah, it matters so much for me and so much for individual. There are people who have called me and said, Preetham, I want to leave the organization right now. That's how difficult my manager is. I mean I don't care about the money and all. I just want a better job. I just want a job, even the salary is less, I'm okay with it. Can you help me with this? I mean, these kind of feeling, whether it's tough feeling or good feeling, is because of their perspective of the managers that they have, and the effectiveness that they show in their team. So what Absolutely, saw you is effective leaders and effective managers who are handling amazing teams is not just because of the skill that they have. I have seen people who are very dedicated, who are just started their career. They have all the enthusiasm and everything to do sales and everything. They come in with the enthusiasm. They work 10 hours, 12 hours a day. Okay, they make sure they achieve the target. And once that happens, and if they are shifted to any different team under a different manager, suddenly after 10-15 days, their targets, their sales, their motivation, everything starts declining. So one day I did one thing. One day I gathered every one of them, because they were from my batch. I gathered every one of them. I asked them, what's the problem? I mean, there's one girl who said, I want to leave the organization. The growth is not happening. Your targets are not happening. What's the problem? I will, Preetham, it's all about how they made me feel. In the first part, I was having energy. I'm still having the energy, but I don't feel to give that energy to my manager or to my organization, because I am not treated the way I was treated in the first place. I mean, if you can take care of someone's dream, someone's motivation, what inspires them, what is the first point? Means even in a corporate, in a professional setup, we come because we have signed up for something, and the something is unique for each and every person. Right? There is a set process that we have. The process is to make everything in a seamless way, but that does not mean that the motivation is the same. Motivation is different for each and every one. The moment the manager understand, I would say the leader understand the motivation and why that person is here for and why he should be doing this, that is the exact time when he will be able to judge, he will be able to discuss with them personally, get that personal bonding. And that same person who was working 10 hours a day will work 12 hours a day, so that the manager, the manager can show the performance to his higher team members, to his higher seniors, and they both can feel. The way you said that you have party and you're the best manager, that's the bonding that we have apart from the corporate setup.
Absolutely.
And I think this is what binds that bonding. If we have no bonding, our process won't work seamlessly unless and until you know that person.
Absolutely agree. And Preetham, it's all about our ability to, build relationships. I mean, it's not only in personal life, it is applicable everywhere. I mean, it doesn't really matter whether you are in corporate or you're in family or you're into business. It's all about if you're effectively able to build your relationship, that really works. I agree with you. And I think you shared a very fantastic example of that lady. I think, again, if it is all about understanding her context, because she was able to relate to what you said. You asked a question and you were able to tap into that limbic brain of that lady, and she felt empathy, and that is the reason she opened up and she told you the secret and truth, and probably you would have been able to. Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic.
This is the thing. I mean, I have seen, if you are a good manager, people will open up to you like anything. They'll discuss with you their family problems, their personal problems, how to get over it. They will seek for your guidance. And if you are a difficult manager, if you are difficult, to handle people, that they won't even discuss with you about the process. Forget about their personal life. If they're facing any
Absolutely.
problem, they won't discuss. They will have fear. They will have that, again, he will irritate me. So what is the point? I discuss with the other peer members, and then discuss with my manager. So this is what I have gone through. I have experienced this firsthand, and I feel, yes, that bonding, that trust actually makes all the difference and makes the process go seamlessly.
I mean, again, I mean, everything revolves around the 4 or 5 values that you have: trust, honesty, integrity, authenticity. If you have all these qualities, I think you does not only become a leader, but you become a great human. But it's very difficult to nurture, very difficult to inculcate. But it's all about when you put yourself into situations, when you when you feel pressurized, only then you come out clean. And because as they say, there's no pressure, no diamond. So it's all about
Very true.
how you handle situation, how you immerse yourself into situations, and then come out and learn something new every day.
Amazing. So that, when talking about the pressure, that
Mm.
makes me to go to the second point, that during
Mhm.
this crisis time, the sales are down, the projects, or many organizations are not getting projects, and because of which the revenue generation is not that happening properly. So in this kind of crisis, how do you handle the work pressure? And as a manager, what do you feel like, how obviously there are pressures that are coming up from
Mm.
above you, from above your managers, but how do you
Right.
make sure that that pressure should not go to your team, so that your team can free flowly and execute better? So how do you manage that pressure, and how
See,
do you become a barrier to the pressure to your team? Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. See, a team leader or a leader is a very thankless job. As I've been
Hmm.
hearing this quote from, like, ever since I've joined the organization, and my team leader used to say, it's a very thankless job. And the number one reason for that is because you are bulldozered from your management as well as from your team, and you are the mid layer. I mean, you don't only have to satisfy your management, but you have to satisfy your teams as well. So that becomes at times tricky and very difficult. But it's an art. It's an art that you learn over a period of time. You can't learn that overnight, and till the time you are not kicked, you cannot learn. So things hurts, if you feel hurted, if you at times, there have been many times I felt that like resigning when I was a team leader. And there were
Okay.
moments like that. I was not able to achieve sales target. I was not able to achieve the customer satisfaction the way it was supposed to be. I was got ridiculed, I was got rebuked uh, at times, and I felt very disappointed, and I felt like I think I am on a wrong boat. In that situation, the more difficult part is you're a leader, and the more time I actually felt that I would have to resign, then the more time I felt that what would happen to my team. I'm a leader, I'm
True.
not an
Yeah.
individual contributor. And actually, you have to make conscious efforts. you know Take an example in a relationship. When you have a fight with your spouse, you feel like, I think something's, and then when you have constant fight with your spouse, you feel like something is wrong, and there is some problem in our relationship that we need to break down and that we need to have to sort out.
Hmm.
And but the till the time you don't understand the context, till the time you don't talk to person, the things cannot go, the things doesn't sort out. The problem what really happens is that we work on symptoms, we don't work on root cause. But if
True.
we identify the root cause and leave the symptoms, probably the problem can be eradicated for all the time. It can be eradicated. Similarly, if we talk about management and corporate situation, as you rightly mentioned, it's a COVID-19 situation, and let's take an example of this. And people are pressurized, and they are fearing of losing a job as well. Sales
Yeah.
target are not meeting. See, I was hearing a video of Guru Gopal Das.
Hmm.
I mean, let me become a little bit philosophical for a moment here. He said that if there is a problem, obviously you tend to worry because there is a problem. He said that only two-step formula. Ask this question to yourself: can you do something for a problem?
Hmm.
If the answer is yes, let's do that. Don't worry. Again, ask this question to yourself: can you do something for the problem? If the answer is no, then why worry?
Yeah.
So it sound very simple and easy, but as they say, the simple is always difficult.
Difficult to
But
implement.
Absolutely. So if we go by this logic, obviously there are lots of people who are going through depression because of this COVID situation. And in fact, if you do again, if you put this principle into this, into this, case study, into this scenario, can you do something for this loss because it's a pandemic and it's all over the world? And not completing the sales target. Understand that it's worldwide. It is not only your organization which is impacted. It is not your team or your only domain which is impacted. Everybody is impacted. Nobody is deprived of this pandemic. First of all, can you do something about it? You cannot do anything about it. So at this moment, we have to ask this two things: what is controllable, what is not controllable. Now, if you ask this question to yourself, what is not controllable is pandemic. You can't control it. The entire world is after this. Entire world is like trying to search and find, discover the vaccine. Nobody is able to do that. And sooner or later, people will discover. Scientists will do their job. But what is controllable is something that you have to ask yourself. And what is controllable is in your hand is to develop yourself. There are lots of courses online. Upskill yourself. You have to basically show your value to the organization. Rather than wasting your time in fearing, you have to become more skillful. True. If you're working on a project, try to catch up another project. Try to show some saving. Try to add some value to the people and the organization. So that if there is any crisis situation, if there is a job cut, at least you are the person who will be valued. So that is something that we need to do. We need not to worry. We need not to, worry, worthlessly. It is all we need to do is we need to focus on our do's. We don't have to focus on don'ts. And the do's are upskilling yourself, enrolling for different courses. If you are a people leader, probably you can learn more. You can go into, deep into leadership. There are various courses like LinkedIn Learning. You can enroll, Udemy, and lots of various, platform wherein you can. So I think the straightforward answer to your question is, if there is a stress, obviously you're going through, you do that. As an individual, I'm talking about now, you have to upskill. You have to basically grow horizontally. There are two kinds of growing, and the most significant part that as an individual we neglect is that we always try to think of promotions. We always try to think of getting, growing vertically. But when it comes to, widening your horizon, upskilling yourself and growing horizontally, this is the most important and significant part that people neglect. And people don't learn. They only, try to probably, serve their managers lifelong to get the promotion, but they don't serve themselves to become more knowledgeable. So this is the time to become more knowledgeable. Now, this was more of from an individual perspective. But when it comes to a leader, handling a team who stress, who can tell the most beautiful example than me? I'll tell you about this. So the last organization that I left was the name was Ayogi Technical Services at one in global market. It was number one technical support company in India. It became one. It was competing HCL. But there came a time when this company had a lot of losses due to certain complications and limitations, and it was shut down. Would you believe that I worked in that organization for 7.5 years? Would you believe that I worked in that organization more than 4 months without a salary?
Oh God!
And it was only possible because our CEO used to come and used to inspire us, and especially the people who were the first 1,000 people in the company. I was one of them. I was like a 667th person in the company.
Okay.
I was so much emotionally attached that I never wanted to leave that organization. And would you believe that I led a team which worked 2 months and made sales without salaries?
Okay.
How difficult situation can be more than this? So I'll tell you how basically I handled that situation. How did I manage that situation? See, everybody has issues in their personal life. Everybody is there, as I mentioned at the starting of the interview, that everybody comes and do the job for a certain motivation, for a certain purpose, and for a certain objective. Now, at times, as a leader, you have to sacrifice. Now, you can't give an excuse that I am not getting the salary, so you're not getting the salary, so we are on the same boat. That is the reason you should stay here, and you should be motivated, and you should not leave the organization. There were a lot of attrition at that time, believe me. I remember there were days when people used to log out intentionally, and they will gather in a room and they will say, I'm not going to work. And it was the story of all the teams. And then as a leader, we used to go to our AVPs, VPs, and then as a leader, we used to go, because we are the people who were directly attached to them. And they would only listen to us. They would not listen to any crappy person.
Indeed.
We would go into a room and then we will try and understand. And at that time, what we really needed to remind people is the good time that we had together. That was the most motivating and the important factor at that time. They didn't get the salary for the first month, and then we told them the kind of time that we spent in this organization. I remember the company used to give the taxi free of cost to someone who used to go somewhere else as well. Not only for going from company to home or coming from home to company, but it used to give taxi to, even if somebody is going to railway station, somebody is going to hospital. Company used to serve to that level.
Okay.
I remember company giving hefty amount, so much of incentives that people made their home. People got married. They got their sisters and brothers married. They made their fortunes from that very organization. So we used to remind that, happy time. And we should remind them that just because of the company is in difficult situation, we should not leave. If you are riding a boat, try to understand, and it's everybody's responsibility. It's not about me and it's not about you. It's about everyone from top level, from CEO to down to the advisor level. We should remind them that you all are riding a single boat, and if one person will be weaker, we all will be weaker. So at this time, we have to, although I know that everybody is, on an emotional level, people have to feed their families and do all these things. And I was authentic, and I used to tell them that obviously I cannot hold you for more than 2 months. If it is the case, obviously I'll myself say that probably go and, there's nothing coming out. There's no picture which is very clear. Probably you start looking for job.
Something else.
A lot of people left as well, but majority of the people stayed with me because I was there. Remember, consider a scenario. If I would have left, then do you think that they would have stick to the organization? It was a leader's job. I'm not boasting about myself. There were multiple people who were trying to do that thing, and situation was horrible. We had to answer to management. We have to explain to the team as well. And how I used to do it, basically, it was my quality that I learned from my mentors, that I never used to go to management with a problem. I would go up with them with the problem, but I will propose a solution. Because, this is something that, out of like 3-4 things that I've learned, that never discuss a problem. Otherwise, you will become a problem maker. You focus on a problem will happen to you. If you focus on solution will be attracted towards you. So I always used to propose that, okay, this is the problem, this is solution. There were a couple of people who have, whose wife were expecting. So I arranged them to get the salary, some like 50% and all, and had to do many such arrangements. But somehow I was able to handle them for 2 months. But there was a situation, then we got a message from that we start looking for a job. You would not believe that I myself looked for a job. I did not leave them. I helped a lot of people to come along with me in my company, in my new organization, and help them, to look for a job elsewhere, because that was important. That was a difficult time to run their houses and finances. But again, it was a crisis situation that I went through, and I practically felt how to basically convey your message to top management, how to convey your message to your team members. The way you convey the message to your team member is basically make them, remind them what did we do in the past, how, and give them a clear message what is coming from the top, because you can't lie them. Just because you, similarly, as you don't lie to your doctor, you can't lie to your team, you can't lie to your people. It is very important. You have to be authentic. You got to do all these things with the team member, and to the management, you got to convey how they are feeling, and what are the problems they're facing, who are the biggest biggest chunk of people who are getting impacted vehemently, we have to help them, obviously, so that they stay with us, they come to office at least. This is how I basically managed the situation to both
So
the
you are
layers.
the bond, you are the holding part with the CEO and
Absolutely.
the mid level and the bottom level. So I think this is
Absolutely.
how we make organization culture. Culture for your team member, culture is not about interacting with the CEO or how amazing your cafeteria is. For your team member, the culture
Absolutely.
is the team members, other team members, and you. These are the people with which they spend the most of the time with, and when they feel that they are valued among their team and among by their manager, and they all are together as a team, I think that's when the culture booms in and they love staying
Absolutely.
in even when they are not paid. Yeah, after a time they have to sacrifice, they have to let go, but yes, they also contribute their part without anything expecting, for the salary or anything, for at least support the organization maybe for few
Agree.
months. But I think those few months are also very valuable for the organization, because the
Very
organization is not
valuable.
able to give anything, still they are working, and that's a perfect, I would say, example of having an amazing culture in organization.
Absolutely. As Simon Sinek says that, a company is nothing but a collection of people if you think beyond systems and tools. So, I mean, it's a kind of family. If you
True.
if you lead people to for a cause, not for a course, they will be inspired and they will definitely work toward what you believe. What works toward was what organization believes in.
True. So, going through this tough situation, whether it's a present a company or it's in a new company, so what happens? How do you, deliver the bad news? Sometimes what happens, your team is not able to, have those issues or not able to solve those problems. But how do you do that?
Mhm.
How do you deliver those problems that the target is not met, the issues is not doing? So how do you do that? Do you hire
It's a
management?
very good question, and I think Preetham, a lot of people face this problem, and the reason why, as I said, that I have never been a person who will come up with a problem. So in this situation, if I place your question, in the way that you are trying to ask me that how to basically deliver a bad news, or how to convey your message that you were not able to complete your target, you were not able to do certain things, the project was not completed on time. So
Hmm.
how to convey it, right? Sorry. So basically, as I said earlier, that whenever you have to deliver a bad news, first of all, try to understand and analyze what the news is all about. Is it an escalation? Is it something that you were not able to complete on time, it was supposed to be done? Is it something, a target that you missed? Now, first thing, that you are aware of the problem, celebrate it, you know what the problem is. The second step is, what you got to do is understand the root cause. What was the problem and why you were not able to achieve that target, why you're not able to complete. So I was saying that, uh, work on three things. So one, we understood the problem, the bad news that we are going to deliver. Second thing is that we need to understand the root cause of that problem, or the escalation, or the target missed, or the person who was supposed to be helped was not helped. And third thing, what is the proposed solution? You can't be a naysayer, you can't be just a baby cry kind of a thing, that you will just go ahead and tell the problem. Understand the solution. I mean, what is your proposed solution, and try to involve a couple of more people who are intellectually in your team to understand that what else can be proposed as a solution. Now you're ready to deliver a bad news to your manager, or probably, if you can present it in a presentation format, fantastic. But if you can't, if you don't have that ability or a skill, probably you want to tell it verbally, or you want to rationalize it in that way, then you got to tell what is the problem. This is what I did, reason that I was not able to do this or that, I was
Hmm.
not able to achieve the sales target, but I know why I was not able to do that. And the reason was this guy newly joined to the team, I was given X target, but competency to complete that target was not there. These 2-3 people were new to my team, so I had to train them. But the target that I'm given, probably I can achieve it in the next month, and I need to upskill these people. Simple. It is something like, it can be applicable in sales. The problem can be different, again, the action plan can be different, but all we need to go understand is, whenever you have to deliver a difficult or bad news to management specifically, you never go up to them with a problem. Always go up to them with a proposed solution, because it does not only tell them that there is a solution, and it does not only make their job easy, but it also gives a message to them that you as a person are trying to do something. You're not a problem maker, you're a solution oriented person.
True.
So I think that's a way.
Yeah. So definitely, I feel that once you are in a leadership position, it's not about the problem that you're discussing. Definitely, you will face problem. It's about how you bring in the solution, because you are a person who is in direct contact with the problems, because you can see your team members performing.
Absolutely.
And that's when you can give the clear picture to the higher management. But they can also understand, because they are not the person who are in direct contact with your team. So I think that's when you become a good mediator to solve the problems. But
Absolutely.
when all these things happen, and there's I say motivation goes down from time to time, and stuffs are not working the way wanted, and there's so much of going on. This was not one thing. There are so many pillars based on ups and downs are happening, and people having their own reasons. You have your own reasons, companies worrying for their own reasons, and there's so much is going on around. So how do you stay motivated, and how do you make your whole team motivated, but they can work in synchrony as a team and not as an individual?
I think it's a good question, and more of a, it is related to the question that you asked, the second question.
True.
Again, we are not able to focus in this situation. The biggest problem that we have, maybe take an example of a leader or their team members. The biggest problem at the moment is maintain focus. And the reason why we are not able to maintain focus because of the so many things happening around us. The media, the news, the bad news, the negative things, the number of cases rising, and companies cutting down on their salaries and wages, companies not giving appraisals, a lot of things. And at time I feel that we have become a victim of the news. So again, I will go back to that do's and don'ts formula, though I know it is easier said than doing. But again, the fundamentals are very important. As a leader, I am afraid, maybe I am afraid, but I don't have to show it to people. I have to have my own grit. I have to have my own calm and compose. I can't go ahead and say that I am worried that all the other organizations are not paying to the employees, so you will also not get that. So see, it's all about being responsible in this situation. The one thing that we can do, the one thing that we have, the ability that we have, that you have, that everybody have, is the power of making choices that God has given to us. Understand this fact. I mean, you believe it or not, we are the result today. Whatever we are the result of the choices that we made in the past.
Obviously, 100%.
Again, tomorrow, no matter what goals do we have, we will become the person for the choices that we will make today. So as a leader, as a leader and as a team member, as a leader, it becomes more, it is your responsibility. You're more responsible than your team. You are basically the captain of the ship. You don't have to worry. First of all, even if you're worried, you don't have to show it. And secondly, you have to be responsible and you have to stay focused. You talk about things what can be done. You don't talk about things what can't be done. Obviously, if something is happening with everybody. And team members these days are very smart. Everybody has social media, everybody has phones, everybody has contact with different teams and leaders. They know what is happening around the organization. All you need to do is you have to focus on what you can do. What support can be given to you from the organization, and with that minimal support, how can you generate maximum results? And that is what you should focus at the moment, rather than focusing on so many things happening which are not in our control. Focus on what is in our control. Focus on what we can do. If obviously there are organizations, there are many people in these days who doesn't have work. They are getting paid, but they're staying at home.
True.
Now, how you utilize that time is going to be the key differentiator. If you're getting paid, but you doesn't have work, you're staying at home. If you utilize that particular time for your own upskilling, for your own growth, you are going to be the winner. But if you use that time just by watching the news, just by involving yourself, indulging yourself in all kind of negativity and talking to people and associating with the futile people, I think you're wasting your time, and tomorrow you will be in trouble. So as a leader, I have to be responsible. I have to make my people feel responsible, and always we need to do in this situation.
True. I mean,
and it is applicable in all the situations.
And even I feel, even if the company is going through a tough time, whether it's the family members in your personal life, you're going through a tough time, but you really can't, as a team leader, show it to your team, because that reflection of yours in your face or in your behavior actually going to impact their work for sure.
Absolutely.
Because communication is, if you say take 100% of the communication, it's only 7 to 8% verbally, and the other is non-verbal. It's through psychology. People will get to understand there's something wrong with my manager, or something he's trying to hide from me, and they will have their
Absolutely.
own concerns and own queries, and there will be gossips going on, and that's how the productivity of the team is going to go low. And at that point of
Absolutely.
time, they would require someone who wants to come and pump them up, motivate them, and say that everything is fine, you just need to focus on your work. That's what they need
Absolutely.
at the moment. But yeah, many of the team leaders, or I would say the team that you have, they will hesitate to talk to you. But that's when the quality of the leader is to understand and the same thing deliver to their team. I mean, if you are
You
not.
said it. You said it well. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is all about, you know, so being authentic is something very important, because what you believe, what you say, and what you deliver, it should be in harmony. I mean, something you believe, something you say is different, and you do something which is absolutely different, is going to create a problem. So you got to be authentic.
Yeah, because people will get to know, people will have that feeling,
Absolutely.
we all
Absolutely.
have that gut feeling, there's something problem with this guy, or there's something problem with this lady. But when everything is fine, we have the mutual confidence. But when things are not,
Absolutely.
humans will get to know. At the end, it's all the human workforce, right?
I
So
agree with you, Preetham. This is what I've learned, based out of my experience, rather than reading somewhere it in the book.
true. So at this point of time when you are working, there are times when you do deliver really great work, Mr. Osif, but then whether it's your team who's performing good, sometimes you also, they don't really get recognized, or they really don't get respected, or they get liked. It happens sometimes, the company misses out on things. So what is your take on that? I mean, how do you keep performing even when you're not getting the recognition? Because I do believe that if not today, then tomorrow you will get the recognition. You need to keep doing that. But there's a mentality shift that happens, that I performed last month, still nobody really did appreciate me, or I'm not getting that appraisal or that hike, and because of which sometimes or the other their motivation declines a bit, and maybe the next month they may not perform the way they did, because of the lack of recognition. Because to be very honest, let's accept the fact that human beings love recognition. They love being appreciated. The fact that
Absolutely.
they did some work, they want people to have look at them and say, oh wow, that's how I want to perform. And there is a good example for this. That is the exact reason why Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that got popular, because people show what they have done and people appreciate that. But what happens, and what do you do when in an organization, when you're spending 10 hours, 9 hours a day, and you don't get recognition for that? Though it's not mean to say that you won't ever get that. Maybe in the
Mhm.
coming few months you will definitely get that in a huge way. But how do you maintain at that point of time? That's my question.
Yeah, I mean, Preetham, I think it's a very good question. I mean, in our general life as well, I mean, humans are appreciated, who doesn't like it? And that is the one reason people don't care about the content. They care about the number of likes and the number of comments that they receive on social media. I mean, I agree. I mean, to answer to this question, I have faced this situation multiple times. I have personally felt it. I experienced it. And if you remember, I talked about feeling like resigning. This was
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons. So,
Okay.
as a human being, when you do your heart out, when you work your ass off, when you work, I mean, when you put yourself into doing anything, and your intuition says that you did everything what you could do, and you don't get recognized, you feel frustrated.
Hmm.
Obviously, you
True.
feel you feel discouraged, and as a result of that emotion, you feel like I'm not going to work. Or even if you try to, even if you want to work, that emotion, that worry emotion or frustrating emotion does not actually let you give your best, and your results go down, and your productivity dissipate and deplete. And this is one of the very hot topic, and one of the very prevalent situation in every organization. You first of all, you got to understand, as a leader, you can't satisfy everyone.
Hmm.
There will be people who will outperform. there will be people who will underperform. There is a model of incentivizing people. So see, everybody gets a salary, right? Everybody gets a specific amount of salary, and that is decided at the time of interview, and everybody is okay with that fact. But what drives the motivation, as I said earlier, and you also agree with that motivation level is different for different people. But
Very
when
true.
they work, when they come to actuality, when they perform, they get certain kind of incentives, and we may call them as rewards and recognition. Because rewards and recognition may come in the form of some goodies or may come in the form of some amount of money, right? But the way organization build an incentive structure is that they want to reward at least 60% of the people. The top 60% of the people who are doing great, they will get recognized, they will be incentivized. But other 40% of the people who underperformed, they will not get the incentive. Though that is a fact that they will get the salaries, but they will not get anything extra. Now, it might happen that, a person belonging to that 40% category is not feeling motivated because he feels that he performed really well. Now, here comes the role of a leader. Now, if you are chasing a wild goose chase, if you are shooting something in the air, you're not going to hit your target. Now, because you as a leader, you should know your abilities, and your ability is your scoring system. If you know your scorecard, if you know your parameters, your principles, you'll probably invite that person in the meeting. You will first of all listen to him, what he's saying, what he's trying to say, what is his message, because it is very important to understand the other person's. We should not say any word before understanding the person. Once you understand what he's, let's take an example. He's saying that he's feeling demotivated. He performed really well, but he could not, he could not probably get the recognition and rewards. And you are a leader, I'm looking up to you, and I was supposed to be done. My ex-colleague, I mean my next colleague who sits with me, and he's not performing the way I am performing, but he got the reward. It's an example. Being you, it's a real example that I faced multiple times, not one time, and I had to justify, I had to explain. And the way I explain, the way we as a leader should do is, okay, I understand what you're trying to say. Let's go and come to the factuality. Let's open the scorecard. Let's open the stats. Because as an individual, you are an individual contributor. You know what you are doing. You don't know what others are doing. It is very easy. I think this is the easiest job in the world to blame and to transfer our responsibility to other person.
Yeah.
But it is very difficult to become an example of a guy. Situation the way you asked the question, and I asked him, okay, let's come. This is a report. This is a performance report. This is a scoring system. Now you're saying that this guy did not do well and he got rewarded. This is your performance. Apple to apple comparison. Apple to apple comparison of all the metrics. I did that, and it was crystal clear. And he accepted that. Tosif, okay. I thought I was very emotional when they got when they got rewarded. I was very emotional. I think I did good, but I was not sure that somebody else who did better than me. Now that is how, as a leader, you have to come up with the facts. You have to come up with those principles, with those scoring systems. If you don't have, you really got a big problem. If you don't have, you have to make one. So that resolved the problem. Now, ultimately, what was the result of that meeting is that I ended up in telling what he needed to do, what he lacked, what he could have done better. And then that guy, over the coming few months, he couple of times he won that award as well. And that is how you build trust, because someone was not getting the award. He knew the hack, he knew the principle, he knew the activities, and he won the award. Then other people, the bottom layers, they also started believing that yes, I can also do it. And it's all about breeding trust into people and yourself, and showing the path.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing so much, Mr. Tosif.
Thanks a lot.
Like 12 years of experience into corporates, training more than 1,000 people under you, being a team leader in different organizations. So what do you think the 3 most important lessons that you learned in your corporate world, which is going to help the young leaders who have just now transformed into an individual corporator, into a contributor to just new team leaders? So what are the 3 things that you would like to suggest?
Okay, I think it's a good question. See, Preetham, uh, I would not try to be bookish here. And I mean, I think I'm thankful to you, first of all, that you actually are discussing about a topic which is very close to my heart. And I did not prepare anything. I'm telling you, whatever I'm coming out, it is just an impromptu session and interview.
Amazing.
So I'll tell you, in fact, 3, 4, 5 things what I really learned from
Sure.
over the course of these 12 years, which I learned from the experience. The many time I struggled into the difficult situation I put myself into, and then, basis those, I recorded some learning and all. I think that the number one thing is for a leader is to be authentic. As I mentioned earlier, that whatever you believe, whatever you say, and whatever you do should be synchronized. It should not be the case that you heard something somewhere, you started believing in, but you're telling something else to your team, and then your actions are completely altogether different from what you're saying and believing. Because if you're not authentic, that means you don't know, you're not clear about your goal. You don't know what you're supposed to do. And if you yourself as a leader are not sure what you're supposed to do, then how can you lead someone?
True.
Because in order to make people believe in you, you got to believe in yourself. And believing means that you're aware about your cause. So
clear idea.
Absolutely. And the second thing is be clear on the purpose. Be one purpose on which a person would want to work. Now, as I mentioned, my team example, that one purpose, that was a vision that we would become the number one team in the next annual function. And that was a purpose. Because if you are clear on your purpose, that is a driving factor for you as a leader. Because at times, as we discussed, that we may feel demotivated, we may feel disparaged, and it is very difficult to come out of that situation. Then what is number one thing which actually drive your spirit? It is your purpose. Because if you remind yourself why I am here, why I am here, what I am doing, then you are again accumulate all those motivational steps and again start putting your legs on accelerator, and then say, okay, this is something that every morning when you wake up, you don't forget to brush your teeth. Similarly, you have to imbibe your purpose in yourself in such a way that you don't forget it. If you forget your purpose, if you're living a purposeless life, then I think again shootings in the air.
Yeah, so it's like a ship without a rudder. The ship won't go anywhere.
Absolutely,
just keep meandering here and there.
Bang on. So again, that is what. And I'm talking about few more things. I think be honest. Very easy to say. I mean, being person of doing the right things in a right way. It's all about honesty and integrity. I mean, integrity is like doing the things in a right way, and honesty is doing the right things. Two things are different. And if you have these two values, I mean, it basically earn you a lot of respect. And to be honest, I'm going to give you a very quick real example. And I felt this. Though I have never been a person who would backbite, but I remember someone shared something with me, and there was some personal interest which lies that was for me as well. And out of that curiosity, I shared that piece of knowledge with someone else. And that person came up to quickly told, Tausif, I considered you something, and you shared that knowledge with someone else that was not supposed to be shared. And I didn't like it. And that was something very exclusive, something very special, and that was not supposed to be revealed to us. And that was very early age, in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And though that guy, I kind of did not share a very good relationship for some period of time, but over a course of time, when he knew the true self of me, when he knew how I am, then we again bonded. And then I told him that I learned this from you, and I'm never going to repeat it. When I became a team leader, then actually it started happening to me that a lot of people in the team, they used to complain about each other. Imagine a situation that team members are complaining about each other, and you start participating in that. What kind of value would you hold as a leader?
Obviously.
Then this is the number one thing that I learned, that whenever somebody would come to me and backbite, I would just hold this up to me. I would not share that with the other person. Other person will come to me. I will not share it with the first person. Being a person of integrity and honest, being honest is very important. And doing things what are right, doing things the right way, it is one of the topmost quality of a leader. If you don't hold trust of other people, if you don't hold, if you're not honest, nobody is going to respect you. Because when you're a leader, people look up to you for certain things, and those certain things are your values. If you hold those values, people will respect you, and it will earn a lot of respect. Otherwise, you're going to fail. Probably you can have short-term gains, but you can't have long-term fruits. So these three things, and there are many more, but top three things that I learned.
Very
to
nice,
be specific.
very nice. So yeah, we learned a lot actually on leadership, on team management, crisis management. So yeah, so that's what I will do is so I will give all the descriptions and all the links to your social media handles, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram. All those viewers who are watching this video can actually reach out to you if they have any kind of queries or concern. So I would really like to thank you, Ms. Aussie, for being with me for so long, for investing your time so that you can educate me, educate others, and we really learned a lot from each other. Thank you so much for your time.
See, it's mutual, brother. I should be thankful. You actually took time, and we were thinking about it for a long, and something which materialized today. And I'm thankful to you for actually investing this much of time of your life. And it's not easy for all the people to communicate. I think I want to share something about you. You must be very passionate about what you're doing, and that is even speaking to me. I think I'm feeling very happy and honored that you spoke to me, and I'll be glad if you share those links, those things. So and I think the number one purpose of this discussion is that more number of people should get benefited.
True.
If you talk about my passion and purpose, I am also passionate about helping people. As I might have had a conversation with you earlier as well, that if people don't remember you before Tauseef Hassan and after Tauseef Hassan, I think you did not live purposefully. So something that we should harness. And thank you very much again, Preetham, for your time.
You're most welcome. So that's what I plan to do. So I mean, people complain about the COVID situation, as we were discussing, the plans that they have dropped. They say that I can't wait to go back to my office and things to get normal. But the bottom line is things will never be normal now. There will always be a shift that has already happened, and the shift will always stay. So I thought, why not to make the most of this time, contribute, because people are working from their home, they have some extra few hours with themselves.
Absolutely.
And why not professionals deliver their experiences, which can help other professionals grow. And that's the motive of this discussion. And to be very honest, if you ask about my passion, I'm really passionate about what I do. And that's the reason why I'm building VisionX training systems.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, buddy, and thank you so much for sharing what you're doing. I think it is very fantastic, and because the intent that you have is very much great and respected, and I'm sure people are going to love it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, buddy.